discussing about a very important topic, which is Springboot MongoDB connection. So as you know, MongoDB is NoSQL databases and it is being very popular in the market. So we are building the REST API in a Springboot that connect to the MongoDB, and we have to be create basic functions, find all, and create and update. So in first of the part, we will be discussing about the basic functions, which is these are basic functions, and then in second of the part we will be take a look at that the advanced of the feature, like advanced aggregations and other complex of the queries in Mongo. So in this part we will be show you an example so that you can be able to download accordingly as per your need. Okay, so this is our application, and the architecture is quite simple. And first take a look at the pom.xml file. The pom.xml files is very simple file. We are actually using the parent. The version is 2.3.3 release, which is a stable release, and in the dependencies we are using the web, and there is no version because it is using the parent version. Similarly, we are using the MongoDB. This is basically dependency for the MongoDB connection, and this is the dev tool. Dev tools is basically is nothing, is just saving your time for once you have made the changes and into the running mode, so it will be made your changes available. So we are using the Lombok for getters headers, and these for the test dependency. So these are basic pom.xml file, and we have MongoDB application, Springboot application, and we have config file, we have controller file, we have model file, repository, and service file. So in model file we are going to take a look at that these are some small field like ID, name, author, and price, and this is a collection name. So it should be create you should have a MongoDB running on your machine, and the services is running, and you should have to install the Compass, which is a front-end tool, and sorry. So this is basically collection name. So in this video we are not going to cover the MongoDB installation part. So let me show you the Compass. This is MongoDB Compass. Make sure the services is running. It will be asked you for the connection. The port is 270, which is default port, and then connect to the MongoDB. So I have already created a bookstore with the name of the book collection. So this is basically table name, and you can see there is no data. So we will be saving this data into the this application. So this is application. We actually are creating an ID, name, author, and price. So this value will be inserted with this schema, and the second part is the repository. Is the repository quite simple. Book repository is extend with the Mongo repository with their entity name and their primary key. So these are quite simple, and the third one is basically a service layer. A service layer basically is talking to the repository layer, and we have a Mongo template. So we will be discussing in the next part the what is a Mongo template, but in this video we are already discussing about the repository. So we just created a few methods like save. So book repository dot save, and we need to pass the book, so it will save the repository and give you the ID, and similarly find by ID. So it will be take as an ID string value, and then it will be find. Similarly, find all will find all the values, and delete will delete the values. So these are basic functions. So this part will be discussed into the second video, and the controller is nothing, just wrapper of the service. So we just need to be injected, and make sure this the one thing which is notice in the service we use the service attribute. So so once you use this service attribute, it will be added into the Spring container. The services will be into the Spring container. So initialization of these services, it's basically handled by the Springboot container. So you don't need to be worried about that. Similarly, for the controller, you need to use the REST controller. So this basically annotation will add this class controller into the Spring Boot container. So similarly for the model we use the entity. We can use the entity if you are using any other database, but you are MongoDB, so you can use the document. And for the repository part, you just use the repository. You can use the repository attribute. So basically this is interface, so you can use the repository, use repository, right? And the last part, the configuration part. The configuration part will, as you know, this configuration part is basically for the template. So we are not covering in this video what is a Mongo template, but stay tuned with this next second video. We'll be discussing about the Mongo client. We will be discussing about the Mongo template. So how we can be able to write the custom queries by using this template as a template. But right now we are not using any configuration, right? And similarly for the configuration file, you use the configurable, right? And the application is quite simple. We just use spring.data.mongodb.host, spring.data.mongodb.port, and spring.data.mongodb.database. So now we are going to run this application. Okay, application is started on port 8080. Okay, so you can use any rest of the client, Postman, or you can use any client, but I am using Insomnia. Insomnia is quite simple. So localhost 8080 book and $5. So once you click it, there is no data, so it is showing 200. Okay, means the request is successful, but there is no data. Now I'm going to add some record, for example biography 1, name and 2, and then save. So book ID with the ID of this, so it's been, the record has been inserted and the value will be displayed accordingly. So we are already displaying this value in service layer. So in the service layer we are just passing the value, okay, and in the controller we are getting the value and then printing. So this is how the values is being printed, right? So we are receiving the request body. Request body is basically receiving the body into the JSON format and cast it accordingly, and we use these are values, for example the ID, name, author and price, and similarly these are value will be passed into the form of name, author and price. ID is auto generated, so we are not going to pass this value. Okay, so for the second value, okay, so we are saving the second value, and now we are going to save the third value. Okay, so these three record has been successfully inserted, and then once you have clicked to the find all, so you can see these three data has been successfully inserted and it is being displayed by the find all. So and you definitely can be able to copy any value, and then you can be able to find the value with the ID. So you can play around with this. For example I want to fetch up this value, so go to and then new request. Okay, find one. Okay, so localhost 8080 slash book and slash find and read. Okay, so you can okay, sorry, find let me check with the endpoints. Find all ID, sorry, the name is wrong. Find all okay, find all okay. So name the name casing is very important, so find all and then you can get the particular value. So this is how you can be able to fetch the data. Now take a look at the Mongo. So we just need to refresh it. So you can see the book was empty, and now we have 3 records with the values particular. So this is how you can be able to insert the data into the MongoDB, and we can be able to save the data accordingly. So the Mongo, it's quite simple, is in the Springboot, so you can be able to download the source code. The source code is available. Stay tuned with us, and we will have another other session onto the Mongo. We will be discussing the advance of the feature. So thank you for being with us. If you have any question, then definitely has to be asked. Thank you very much.